三星闪耀千年，如今在惊天下。欢迎收看
The three stars have been shining for thousands of years, and now they are being revived. So welcome to this special program on the discovery of Sanxingdui. 30 years ago, the relics of Sanxingdui was discovered for the first time, and we found a lot of astonishing bronze ware and copper ware, which astonished the whole world. And after 30 years, we discovered another 6 pits. The artifacts, which have been lying underground for thousands of years, are unveiling their looks to the viewers all across the world. So today let's take another look at the pits. First, pit 3, which has drawn a lot of attention, and inside this pit we found a lot of bronzeware, for example, vessels and utensils. And there is a new shape which is similar to a human figure, and this is the first time that such a style of bronzeware was discovered. And we also have a bronze utensil and vessel discovered in pit 3. And in pit number 4, we found more than 30 elephant tusks. And yesterday, one complete piece was extracted and was transferred to the experimental lab. And we also extracted a piece of jade tablet. And pit 5 is the smallest, but we found a lot of gold and golden files in that pit, and the archaeologists are preparing to extract these golden files. And earlier, one golden facial mask was discovered here, and this is the largest of its kind ever excavated in China. And the archaeologists, they are repairing and finding the missing part of the golden facial mask. And now let's go to pit number 6, and we have a wooden box. Its length is equivalent to the width of the pit, and right now the archaeologists are cleaning this wooden box, and we may expect to see its real look. And now let's go to pit number 7, and there are some connection between pit number 7 and pit number 6. And right now in pit number 7, the archaeologists are still cleaning the earth, and pit number 8 is the largest. We have found some burned earth and also some beams for construction purposes. And 2 days ago, we found out a stone tablet. According to metallic scanner, we may expect a lot of metal pieces buried in pit number 6. Pit 3, 4, 5 have entered the level of artifacts, and in pit number 3 we have encountered a lot of artifacts. In pit number 4, we are about to enter the layer of ashes or the layer of artifacts. Today the archaeological work is underway, and Zhu Guangquan, my colleague, will bring you the latest. So now I will hand it over to you, Guangquan. All right, welcome to Sanxingdui Relic site. We have a lot to expect today. For example, pit number 4 and pit number 5 will extract those golden files, and we are also going to analyze the fibron in pit number 4. And yesterday we also found a wooden box, and what is inside that wooden box, and we're going to have the answer today. And today we have with us Wang Wei, who is the director of the Chinese Academy of Archaeology, and also we have a lecturer and head of the team for pit number 5 through 7, Dr. Ma. So we have entered into a very special state, and we have a lot of discoveries every day. We may also have many questions, and this is mind-blowing to see so many discoveries every day, and this is rarely seen in my career, and it's a privilege to witness these new discoveries with you. Good afternoon. I'm Ma Yongchao. I'm from the School of Archaeology of Sichuan University, and it's a great pleasure to join Dr. Wang Wei and Guangquan to witness these discoveries. And pit number 3, we have 3 sacrificial pits, number 5, 6 and 7. After some preparatory work, these pits are at different stages of excavation, and later I will give you more details. So, all right, we are going to bring you the latest later. Thank you very much. Since yesterday, what are the new discoveries in Sanxingdui? And now let's get connected to Zhao Jing. So Zhao Jing, tell us what is going on at your front. So we are still reporting in the structure covering the pits in Sanxingdui Relic site, and you can see that the work is still underway. And from the golden file that we encountered, we have extracted some very heavy artifacts. For example, from pit number 3, we extracted a very large bronze vessel, and our archaeologists are using 3D printing to work out a protective layer for that bronze figure. And yesterday it was transferred to the Cultural Relic Preservation Center. In addition to that, archaeologists found out that there are some new artifacts, including one big bronze ware that has not unveiled its full shape to the public. It also includes a jade ware, and today you can see that our archaeologists are still operating on that platform. And yesterday we unearthed a very radiant and glowing piece, and from pit number 5 we extracted a tooth sculpture, and the archaeologists are using microscope to analyze this small tooth sculpture, and they found a lot of very delicate patterns on the surface of this sculpture. They also extracted some debris of elephant tusk, and they are going to see whether those debris and pieces can match together into one giant piece. Also yesterday from pit number 4, we unearthed an elephant tusk with a length of 1.3 meters. After buried under the ground for thousands of years, and since given the fact that it was burned, it's very difficult to preserve those elephant tusks, and we have found 36 elephant tusks, which will pose great difficulty for excavation on a later date. So this is a dynamic process, and I was told by the archaeologists that they are going to unearth some golden ware from pit number 4 and number 5. And also in one of the pits we encountered a wooden box. What is the wooden box for? What was it holding thousands of years ago? So we extracted some earth from the wooden box, and this afternoon we are going to analyze the fibron of the earth. This will tell us whether the wooden box was used to accommodate some silk products and silk cloths. And they are still cleaning the earth, and in pit number 8, they have already conducted a metallic scanning. Through that scanning, they have encountered some very strong responses, and so that is why they made a decision to further dig up the earth, and they may expect some very major discoveries. So we are going to stand by and bring you the latest. So we have a lot of expectations for this afternoon, so thank you very much, Zhao Jing, for bringing us the latest. So in this round of excavation, we are all paying attention to one of the key areas, which is the Cultural Relic Preservation Center that is near the Sanxingdui Relic Center. So what is going on at the center? And now let's get connected to Jianquan. So tell us the latest about the repairing and maintenance of those relic pieces. So more and more artifacts have been transferred here to this Cultural Relic Preservation Center over the past 24 hours. This center is kept very busy, and yesterday you saw that we extracted a very large bronze vessel, and it was transported here. And yesterday we wrapped off its protection layer, and you can see that the workers, they are cleaning the earth attached to this bronze piece, and though it's very solid, but after buried underground for thousands of years, they have to be very delicate and meticulous in cleaning the earth. And yesterday, we showed you that after the elephant tusk was transported here, the workers have basically cleaned the earth, and we are still guaranteeing the the moisture of the elephant tusk. And so right now, the elephant tusk is frozen in the lab, and later they will be transferred to other places for further analysis. What I'm going to tell you today is that after some basic repairing work, we are going to accommodate and show you how to repair the golden files extracted from pin number 5, and we may also have experts to witness the key part of our work. All right, this is the latest from my center.
Thank you very much, our correspondent from the Restoration Center. So we can tell like every day we have seen something new in the discovery and restoration. Please stay tuned. Welcome back, and this is our special coverage on the Sanxingdui new discovery. And now let's go to the on-site to give our studio there. Right. Welcome to our studio here. This is right behind this Sanxingdui pits, and we just near the A4 cabins here. This is excavation. the campings, and we talk about our ancestors actually delivered and developed their history here, and this is also experienced the rich the resources, although right now it's covered by the thousands of years of the earths, but actually with our work we can see clearly the shape of the original look, and I hope we can bring that original look and feel to our viewers. Right now this is the number 5, 6, and 7 pits. So would you please talk about the progress right now going on? We can tell actually gold here is really shining, and this is pit number 5. But right now we're coming to the 60 to 65 centimeters underneath, and we can tell right now, you can see from the color, so the gold foil and gold ware. We talk about the before we have the bird shape, the gold foil, and also the different shape, and also the biggest one that's our gold mask. And so far you can see actually filled with different pieces of golden foil, and also can see that the jade and also the portraits. And for pit number 6, we're also coming to the 90 centimeters underneath, and you can see this one is a jade, I believe. And for this, actually we keep that moisture. You can see that moisture. We actually keep these kind of situation for the ivory actually. So based on the CT scan, actually help us to understand exactly where we are. I believe you look at this, is so beautiful. You look at the color, is very vivid. This is CT scan. I believe this is the on the top. So that's the date, that's last year, December 23rd. And this one, let's look at the date. I believe that's one part finished. That's December 28th. And we also went down a little bit deeper that date this year, January 4th. But we couldn't really see a lot of things underneath. But look at this one. Actually, you could see that the gold mask, a very astonishing piece, January 12th. And you could see based on this, you can see more gold foil that's really shining, and earth. And this is January 31st. And you can see more here. I believe this is the most updated one, CT scan. You could see that with all these development, you could actually feel the same exciting with the archaeologists back then. So the latest one is the March 6th, and this is the one piece of the gold foil. And you see actually there's a little hole in the middle. We could really tell the size, but actually it should be really, really tiny, just around the 1 to 2 centimeters. But you can still is all filled with these kind of pieces of gold foil, and also a hole in the middle. Look at actually is filled inside the whole pit, not really layered or overlapped each other. So we could tell that maybe this is something actually before decorated on the clothes. So you could see maybe that's the decoration under coats or the accessories. So I believe this one, you could tell it just a gold pit, because for the other pit, I really not have these large quantity of gold pit. And also we talk about the jade. Actually, look at the shape of the jade we found here in pit number 5. That also could be the decoration purpose. And this is another piece. So look at this is a really nice shape. So that's basically, that's ivory. Or maybe that's a piece of ivory, we believe. And we talk about ivory, it's not really in our common sense, the really large size of ivory. So we talk about that's really maybe that's the original purpose for the decoration, so already broken in different pieces for decoration purpose, or that for other functions. So that's not really in the really large, big size, as we know, defined as the ivory. So maybe that's for the other decoration or for the ivory-made products. And look at this is what we call the jade too. So actually you can use the rope to hang on your clothes. So back to the ancient age, actually you have that rules and regulations based on what kind of the decoration you can put on your clothes. So like how the ancient people really like here coal jade. I believe this should be really quite a technology, and from different size, it should dig the hole. Of course, back then there's no metal instrument to help them, so I believe this could be really difficult for them. I believe the same level as we digging a hole in the mountains. So let's say, judging from right now what we found here, this should be really the higher class people like buried here, because we also found a gold mask here. So maybe the wardrobe here is the really nice one. To look at this is maybe. I found that this is the cope here, so I believe this is cope, or maybe that's also the gold foil. So let's look at the thickness. We not really know right now. We need to do the further cleaning work. So right now we not really see the whole piece, the whole shape. So we cannot really tell from now, but we can see the burn marks, or that may be just the mud. So it's burnt already melt. So luckily it's not burnt, because we actually knew that for the gold mask it's burnt, so we lost half of the mask. So we tell this is really with great value, and we look at the people that wearing or for the worship, they should be really the high standard ritual. So this should be the high officials. So also the highest priest actually worn the gold or jade accessories on the clothes. And we can see another one. This is maybe all different in different pieces. So look at the different pieces of the gold foil, and we can see that maybe the ivories and maybe the ivory carvings. So we could see whether we can restore back to its original look. So we talk about maybe it should be a cup or it's a black one. That's maybe the ivory that burned. So that's the not in a round shape, but because we cannot really judging from this angle to tell that the shape is round or the other shape, so we need to wait for the whole cleaning work finish. So let's take a guess. So let's say if that's the whole piece of clothes, right now it's then broken in different pieces, so we can see all these different pieces of the gold foil. So we need to wait for the whole repairing work finish to see whether that all different pieces right now come back resembled to the one large piece of clothes or coat. So we talk about the ivory, maybe it's the carving or the sculpture, because we already found the unearthed the sculpture or the ivory carving with different the patterns. So we talk about pit number 1 and 2, actually just found an ivory. So this one we believe compared to the other pits, it should belong to the people with a higher hierarchy. And we actually found some a brown ware, but quite smaller size. And believe this is another piece of jade or jade ware. So maybe it's one piece or two. So far, actually, judging from the angle we saw, it's maybe 4 pieces already. So we talk about right now in this cabin, and Mr. Ma, actually, the pit leader or the cabin leader, you're actually in charge of the more piece compared to others. So the people in blue, that's another manager here, or the team leader. So piece number 7, actually you could see that with the really show it's a deserve And they have a different logo or the slogan on them. So it's very easy to tell that's actually their name. So we could really tell that they're the characters or the personalities. So they bring some fun in addition of this exciting project. So right now we still do the cleaning work and also to tidy it up. Of course, you look at here is marked different numbers. And for a different pit, actually the earth or the sand inside is quite different compared to the sand outside. So actually we need to be really careful. And this is pit number 7 and the pit number 6. Actually, we talked about this. Pit number 7 it was the original one, and then the pit number 6 actually was the pit that the digged later and also took some area of pit number 7. So we talk about it's like a book. Actually, we read from the last page to the front cover. So that is also one that we started to do our work from pit number 7 and then back to pit number 6.
料坑呢，最突出的就是它在它的这是南端吧？
现在画面的右上角，
西侧，对，西侧，然后有一个木箱子，
我们看工作人员正在对这个木箱子进行一些清理的工作哈。
对，
然后现在看到的就是这个木箱子的一个特写。
这个木箱子是在因为迄今为止没有发现过，所以给我们带来无限的遐想。 里面有没有可能是埋葬，比如说木棺埋人的，或者如果不是木棺，是不是有可能有一些珍贵的文物，比如说丝绸，比如说是其他的一些贵重的物品。然后呢，在这儿这个红线这是它的边缘，是吧？内壁是特殊的装饰的，
这红色是漆颜料吗？啊，是朱砂。
内壁涂的一层朱砂。 这个实际上内壁还没有到，保留了一部分。
朱砂漆的木箱。
对。
那往漆里加朱砂，70年前在河姆渡是有的。
对。
商代木棺也有。
商代朱砂的利用更广泛。比如说这个在商代的墓葬当中，往往或者是夏商周墓葬当中，墓底涂朱砂，红颜色的，表明代表鲜血，代表复生。 然后它也有一装饰，漆器呢，在我们国家至少有7000年的历史。是从漆树上把那个漆下来，然后涂在木器的表面。
所以这个朱砂出现，就容易引着人往是不是棺木上去猜？
对，我就是这么想的。但是呢，是什么？因为起码现在木棺里边，因为尝试性的在这边在南部挖了一部分，是吧？视觉了一下，没有发现起码骨骼之类的东西。然后呢，这个当然是不是有人骨或者动物骨骼？我们通过这个里边的土。
But still, we have to rely on
soil
analysis to find out whether there were bones, and we have to measure its fatty acid, and if it is animal or human beings rotted, it will contain some fatty acid in the soil. But right now, we haven't heard the result. So we have to extract some samples from the wood box. And so, what is this? So this is rich in the bottom of the wooden box, and you can see that this is almost the bottom of the wood box, and this is rotted wood. Maybe it was corrosed and rotted, and if we dig deeper, that would be dark. So surely it's giving us a lot of questions on what the wood box is for and why it was put at one side of the pit. And we have to look at the elements contained in the soil of the wood box, because this is a very delicate box, and on top of the box we have a very long strip, and let's take a look at this one. So yesterday we were not able to see that, and this is another wood bar. The length of the wood bar is equivalent to the wood box, but it's less wider, so it may not be the lid of the wood box, and it's very flat on the surface. So my first impression is that maybe this is just an ancient music instrument, but on one side it's very similar, but on the other side it's pretty strange. So when we encounter a piece of artifact, we have to delve into many different possibilities and then put them to test and analysis. So archaeologists, they have to look into chemistry and also maybe culture. They may not be able to realize their possibilities that they have imagined through analysis, but they have to have this kind of imagination in the first place. So again, this is the old box in P number 6. You can see that we are taking samples from the soil of the wooden box. Those are the sample boxes. And they have to put different samples in different boxes, and those are different soil and earth samples. And we are putting them into different boxes according to the color of the earth. Through measuring and analysis, and we may find what the elements are contained in the earth. And those are the file paper we use to extract the earth. And this can minimize our impact on the environment here. So, how difficult it is to preserve this wooden box? It is very difficult because traditionally we saw a lot of wood sticks to support that, but right now you have removed all the wooden sticks. Why is that? You can see that we're still using some wood sticks, and the first step is to attach a layer of file paper. And on top of the file paper, we have a plastic film, and then a towel, and then a wet tissue. So it's 4 layers. So this is the sampling work going on. So we have to extract the earth inside the wooden box. So it is just for this layer and this very small area. Alright, while we do sampling, because we have to understand what is contained in the wooden box. For example, silk products, and we have to look at the content of fibron. So what is the result of this analysis? And now let's go to the lab and get connected to Zhao Jing. Alright, I'm at the emergent analysis lab of the Sanxingdui Relic site, and our workers are analyzing the contents of the earth. And you can see that we have some soil samples at the centrifuge tube. So this earth is from the mysterious wood box from P number 6, and each and every day we take a lot of earth samples from the wooden box. Why? Because we want to understand what was the wooden box for thousands of years ago. And right now, you can see that our workers are analyzing the contents of fibron. You can see that our researcher has sampled 6 different layers of earth and put them into 6 different centrifuge tubes. And this is designed as so to make the result more accurate. In this round of excavation at Sanxingdui, in P number 3 and P number 4, we have identified some of the fat from silk, and we also find some remains of silk cloth, because it's a very tiny samples, so it's very difficult for us to tell whether it is silken cloth or woven silk or some other silk product. The analysis is still going on, and you can see that we have completed the test for 4 samples, and there are 2 more coming, and we have to stand by and wait, and later maybe we can have some feedback from our researchers. There's a lot of questions with regard to what the wooden box used to accommodate. There's a lot of tests and analysis going on, and so this is the last centrifuge tube that is working on, and we are holding our breath and expect the answer in a few minutes.
现在正在进行最后一管土样的检测。
Now you can see that this is the last centrifuge tube.
其实我们也可以看到，这个试纸上面呢是有这样的一个条纹。我们也来请教一下现场的这个文保人员。看到这个条纹上面，究竟是显示的是一个什么样的含义呢？来为我们
So what does this tell us?
这样试纸我们是叫丝蛋白检测试纸。丝
So
蛋
we're
白检测
using
试纸就是对
a lot of these test
土壤
papers
进行一
to
个快速
test
的
the
丝蛋白检测。
fibron
如果
contained
说
in the
这个
earth.
试纸
And
上
so this
显
is
示
a
为
very
1条
fast
杠，
way
那证明
to
为
tell
阳
you
性，
how much
就证
content
明有丝蛋白信号。如果是2
of
道杠呢，
silk
就证明为阴
the
性。
earth shows. If it is
给我们
one
公布一
bar,
下结果
it's
吧。
对，这就
positive.
是我
If
们
it's
刚刚
two
做
bars,
的
then
6
it's
个
negative.
不同
So
层位
tell
的
us
土
the
样。
results.
现
So
在
those are
目
the
前
6
来看，
different
就是均显
centrifuge
示有
tube
2道杠，
containing
也就是
samples
证
from
明它
6
是为阴性。
layers,
就是
and
我
all
们
of
所
them
取的
show
土样
2
中呢
bars,
可
which
能
means
不含有丝蛋
it's
白，也就是
negative,
说这个
which means
可
that
能之前没
the
有
earth
报
does
卖
not
过丝绸
contain fibron.
非常感谢
Well,
这
which
个
means
现场
that
文保人员
it
带
was
给我们
not
的一个介
a
绍啊，其
wooden
实这个
box
结果
used
刚
to
刚也揭
contain
晓了，大
silk
家也可以听
products.
到这个现场的
All
检
right,
测人
thank
员
you
也
very
告诉我
much.
们，从
As
这
you
个
have
检测的
heard,
结果来看呢，木箱
the
子当中
researcher just
可能
told
不
me
存在这个
that
丝织物，但是
in the
其实
wooden
进
box,
一步的检测呢，
it's
仍然
highly
需要在进行当中，
unlikely
我
that
们也
there
了解
were
到
some
从木箱
silk
子当中取
products,
到的这
but
个
they're
土
still
样，
doing the
还
test,
到
and
了其
according
他的
to our
联合的科
knowledge,
研机构正在检测当中是否含有脂
the
肪或者
earth
是酒
samples
类。如果
extracted
存在
from
脂
the
肪
wood
类物质
box
的话，有可能当
are
时木
transferred
箱
to
子
other
里面
labs,
放的
and
是
they are
动物。
looking
如
at
果有
whether
酒类物质的话
the
呢，有
earth
可能当时木
contained
箱
some
子里
fatty
面放的是
acid,
鸡肉。
and
这一系
if
列
it
的检测的
does,
结果呢，都要
maybe it
等
was
待
just
后续逐一的揭晓。以
a
上就是
box
我们在实
holding
验室的报道。
animal
黄娟。
bones, and maybe it was a
好的，赵晶。
wooden box holding
王老
wine.
师，目前我们检测的结果是
All right.
阴性的。
Thank you very much, and you can see
但
that
是还有
the
其他的检测
result
物
is
质方面
negative,
检测
so
之类的检测正在进行当中。那根
it
据
doesn't
目前
contain
这个
any
阶段性的
fiber,
再
but
判断一下
they
这
are
个
doing
相当
more
可能
tests to
会
see whether
暴露
there
出
are
风险。
animal remains or remains of
这
wine.
些检测
So
结果出来，
give us your wild
它是一个
guess,
很
and
重
what
要
do you
的
think
是吧？
was contained in this wooden box? Well, this is very hard to say, and I
这
believe
个
this
时候
is
那时候我
a
们就
very
看出科技
important
考古
piece
主
of
要
artifact,
传统考古无能为
and
力，
you
这没有
can
陶
see
器
how
这就没有，
important
那就是看
science and
土壤
technology
和光
is.
我来判断。
If you are still using the
其实我们
traditional
之前的上
methodology, you
次
can
已经发现
hardly
过
tell what
有
was
丝
in
蛋
it.
白检测，就是
So
确
in
定
pin number 3 and number 4, we have conducted some fatty acid test. In pin number 1 and number 2, we identified some fibron, and in pin number 4, in the soil, we analyzed
只是目前看这个
the soil, and it shows a positive result for
说到
fibron.
这个丝绸
And it's
这
just
个
telling us that
属
inside
国
the
的
wooden
这个
box
第一
there
任
is
开
no
国的这个
fibron.
几条蚕丛，
So
然后呢，蜀国的这个蜀
the
字
first
在甲骨
king
文
of
当
the
中
ancient
也是
Shu
藏在
kingdom
其
was
中
called
所
the
以呢，
Chanyong.
包括这
And
个西汉时期那蜀锦那是天下
So
闻名的，而且我们
in
这个根据
Western
最
Han
新的考古
Dynasty,
发现
the
呢，我们国
silk
家
products
在
from
至
Shu
晚的
kingdom
6几
was
年前
known
已经开始
around
了
the
这个
world.
养
And
蚕丛。
6,000 years ago,
证据呢，就是
China
在
started
去年在山西
to
运城的下县
cultivate
石村遗址
worms.
大
And
学
last
发
year
现
in
出土了
Xiaxian
4
County of
件这
Yuancheng
个
city of
这
Shanxi
个
province,
石
we
石头做的
excavated
蚕蛹的形状啊，
4
然后呢，
pieces of
这个你要说
stone-made
一个可
worms.
能是不是例外，
silk
但是4
worms.
件，而且年代的
If it is just
不
one
晚于
silkworm,
距今6000年。
it doesn't
然后呢，
tell
这
you
个也
much.
同样是
But bear in mind, it's a lot of silkworms made of stone, and it has been 6,000 years old. And a couple of years ago in Henan province, in Gongyi Shuhuaishu relic site, we unearthed
还有呢，
a bone sculpture in the shape of worm. In Xinjiang's Qingtai relic site, we also excavated some silk products. So it shows us that 5,300 years ago in the Central Plain area, people started already to cultivate silkworms. And also, we also excavated the stone-made silkworms from 6,000 years ago. And that tells you a lot about the history. And 6,000 years ago, maybe there were not many human beings living in the ancient Shu kingdom, and it's highly likely that the worm and the silk product were transported to this place from the northern part of Yellow River. So talking about the ancient Shu kingdom, you have to talk about silk, because the very first technique taught by the king was how to cultivate silkworms. So now let's move on to the side again. So what is she doing right now? So she is digging up the soil filled in the wooden box. So you can see that she is using a very tiny shovel. So this is like a dental hospital. Dental doctor is using small tools like this to dig up the soil bit by bit, and he's not missing any part of major discoveries inside the wooden box. So let's continue with this job, and we are finding a lot of major discoveries here, and I hope that our workers can continue engaging in very meticulous work and maybe find some of the mysteries from those details. Stay tuned. Thank you.
All right, welcome back. This is our special coverage regarding the new discoveries in Sanxingdui, and this is Beijing studio. Just now, we go to the A pit number 5 and to see about the very shiny gold a foil, and we talk about before that maybe the decorating clothes, but where is that piece of clothes? Or we talk about where we could find that textile of the clothes. Though we actually right now didn't find any a fibron from the wooden box from pit number 6, but actually we did find some a silk or textile from the other pit. So this is pit number 3, and this is just next to a brown mosque. So that's near to the ears of the mosque. We found in a very small portion of the soil. Actually, we found these trace of the textile or the silk products. We could see really that the texture and actually is less than the 1 millimeters. So this is really tiny size. How we could find it? So we talk after is the decade or the rotten development. The color could change. So we talk about a yellow soil actually right now changed to the dark or black color, and that could tell that it's a higher possibility to contain the fibron. We talk about we use a different material and different method to test whether that exists of the fibron. So judging from the color actually help us to see whether this should maybe with the potential or not, and then through our laboratory work we will found this. So in pit number 4 actually in different depths of the ash layers actually we found indeed there had the silk or the textile existed before, and we compared to the excavation we got before from pit number 4 actually could tell it's even clearer from its look. So we talk about right now we can one thing for sure is that in pit number 3 we had this kind of the silk products before. Then it depends on the archaeologists on site to see whether we can find that surprise from the pit. Actually, for a country, China actually one of the leading country and the earliest one actually to cultivate silkworm, and we had a big development in this regard. So based on the excavation results, so we talk about at the later age of the new stone, we already had the silkworm breeding, and we found the half of the silkworm chrysalis, and actually we found this is around the 1.36 centimeters long and 1.04 centimeters wide, and we got this half size of the silkworm, the chrysalis, and Yangshao culture that's around 5,000 to 6,000 years ago, and this provides the solid evidence for us to understand the silkworm braiding culture before. And we also found that in the previous excavations, we also found the residue of the silk, and we talk about that also embedded the silk into the yarn, and I believe this is the earliest the discovery we got. So that's emphasized and also verified that 5,000 years ago, the Chinese ancestors already produced silk. And in Sanxingdui Ruins, we also found this a bone carving. Actually, this is a silkworm shape, so with a 6.4 centimeter long and less than 1 centimeter wide. And this is also the earliest carving or sculpture we found. You could look at this is exactly the really vivid shape like a silkworm. So we could tell that this is maybe that producing silk. So right now the silkworm right now is. We look at the whole shape, it's producing silk, so we could tell actually back then, in that culture age, already had that a family or household culture to do that, the silkworm cultivation. And around 4,000 years ago, we also had a lot of the foundings, including the cerements and also the silk belt and silk rope. And from the March to the June 2005, we had the third excavation work in the Duqingshan Yang, the ruins, and we also found a well-preserved silk belt. So we talk about how we found these well-preserved excavation, how we depend is the cotton or the silk or other textile materials. Actually, in the silk museum, we found that the remaining pieces. So our correspondent right now in the Hangzhou, so this is the silk museum, and we talk about because to protect the silk, and we don't want to really use a strong light to decorate the whole room. So that is why you can see we have not really the big lighting here. And this one is in front of us. That's the piece of the silk we mentioned before, and how we can define that actually. Talk about the age of these silk ruins, and we use this the silk thread that's around 4,400 to 4,200 years ago. And for the textile products, actually they had a requirement on the sample sizes should be at least equal to 100 grams. Actually, we talk about the findings back then or excavation actually is quite small. Actually, we also test at the same time the grains or the rice. So we are used together to talk about whether that should have the silk in its content. And we also talk about why we can judging from the black color that should tell it's including the silk inside. And we look at this is the whole production processing going on, because back then we know there's no the chemical silk inside, and it's just all the natural silk. So we look at, we should touch it and feel it. So judging from its look, judging from appearance, and look at elasticity, and basically judging from the look and touch, we could see whether the textile, and also look at the fiber is elastic or resilient. So we look at the silkworm. Look at this should be really resilient, and also the should produce around 1,000 meter long, according to the nature of the silk. And for the cotton, actually you can smell that burning smell. And for the silk, it shrink first, and it's falling into the pieces or into that carbon size or the carbonated pieces. So we look at, we don't want to be bring the damage to the excavation, so we use the microscope. So this is how we could see this is cotton fiber, and we look at the turnings and showing that the round shape. And the flap actually with the different X angle, and this is the woven, and this is the silk. So we look at this actually in the triangle shape. So this is how we're judging with the help of the microscope. So the A bronze ware and also the gold were actually the largest unearthed findings we got. We don't talk about actually so far we got 4 the gold mask, and right now we show you 3 out of that 4. So 1 without gold mask, the other 2 with the gold mask on. So look at these 3 the brown hats. You find some dissimilarity, and look at the eyes, actually quite similar to the one, not similar to the one known the findings from the Sanxingdui. Actually, this look at their eyes. It's not a buckling eyes, actually just with that triangle shape. And just look at their mouth, it's a horizontal, like one line here. And also look at their ears, they have a pierce on. So we talk about actually not only just 1 pierce, look at this with 3 pierce on each. So maybe they were the earrings before. We don't know whether it's true or not. It's because we just live 3,000 years after their existence. We believe with more works going on, we could verify our guesses. Of course, there are some similarities among these 3, but we also show that they have different features. For this one, you look at on the top, you look at their hairs actually is different with the other 2, and the other 2 one with a flat hat top, another with a curved hat. So maybe that's verified that someone wear hat, some not wear hats. Maybe there's different social hierarchy. So that also judging from their hats or judging from their hairstyles, I believe with more evidence unearthed, we could get more understanding of this ancient tribe. And we found a lot of gold products because gold is quite soft, so they unfold it and we can identify 100% sure that which the word belong to is the independent one or should be adhered to something else. For Sanxingdui 35 years ago, in pit number 1, we found one of the gold stick or the gold vessel, the word. So actually, very beginning, we saw that this is a gold belt. During the restoration work, the archaeologists found inside the wood elements found inside that wound. So when we unfolded 100%, we found on the one side that the 46 centimeters is 3 patterns on. As you look at this is the pattern carved on that golden wand. And inside, it also had a carving of the bird and fish shape. So you look at this is a pattern on that golden wand. We don't know exactly how that pattern conveyed, what kind of message, or if this is maybe used for the priest or represent for the people buried. That's also because triggered a hot debate. So this time, maybe we also kind of built a whole round of the database related to Sanxingdui, and we'll talk about pit number 5. That's quite rich discovery pit for us. Maybe we can expect more surprise today. So compared to the previous days, we've got how that different. Let's go back to the studio there, back to Sanxingdui studio. Welcome back. This is Sanxingdui excavation and carving studio, and I'm with our special guest to give you more knowledge about our excavation work going on here. And right now we are focusing on this is pit number 5.
现在是一个提取的，我们现在还没有镜头还没有过来，看不到提取的
So we not really know which piece they are working on, but you can people right now gathering here and someone doing the recording work. I believe right now is tracking the samples. And the lady named Li Sifan, you can see this is a gold foil and this gold strip. So talk about technical difficulties when we excavating these samples. First of all, this is very fragile, and we need to be really careful, and also we should be careful because when I look at the gesture, it's actually not really comfortable for us to working in this kind of the gesture. And before we got a gold mask and also a bird-shaped gold foil, so that's quite large. It's very stunning piece we got from pit number 5. So this is a quite smaller one. This is really thin actually, so it would be really, really soft. Be careful because it's so curved or folded, so maybe that add additional difficulties to our excavation work. And also look at a lady working inside right now doing the cleaning and sample collecting work. So lady is Li Sifan. And we could see that the gold foil stripe actually right now is movable. So we should be really patient. So from a different angle, from different direction, so you need to lose it first. We can take the soil with it. You cannot really use the force to take it. And right now we got it. So thin.
So we put it in a box.
这大概会是一个什么器型呢？
What can it possibly be? So it's similar to the golden files because it's very thin. Maybe it's part of the whole piece of artifact. So you can see that we are taking photos, we are giving a QR code to that strip. So this is the documentation process, taking some record and taking some photos. So the photo is taken. Our staff still excavating other golden strips, and now let's take a look at what is beneath the golden file layer. So this is K5. K5 is actually pit number 5, and this is the 145th artifact extracted from this pit. So we have different coding system for different pieces of artifacts. And we have big pieces and of course smaller pieces, and they will be coded differently. For big or small, they will be carrying different codes with different initials, and this is just like the initials of your ID number. For example, K5 is the initials of this code, and it tells you that this is from pit number 5, and then it will be put into the laboratory. We're going to use some hyperspectral scanner to look at the content, composition, and the density of gold. Some have the density of 85%, and the remaining 30% of silver. So they're having a lot of conversation, but we cannot overhear what they are talking about, and maybe they're talking about the next piece of artifact, and they are still talking because the head of this page is not there, so they have to work out a plan. But I believe that there will be interim head of team on site. So gold is the symbol of power, and as we mentioned yesterday and the day before yesterday, so this is a fairly large amount of quantity. In Xia and Shang and Zhou dynasty, this is the place that used the largest quantity of gold, and maybe there is a gold mine and gold mountain nearby, and This is also very relevant to the preferences of the king and royal family, and of course in Western Asia and in Egypt there are also a lot of golden ware excavated, and there is some sort of connection, very likely, but this is something we need strong evidence. For example, the transportation routes and similar artifacts or similar techniques, and you cannot independently come up with something different. So this is pit number 4, and we saw a long strip of gold, but you can see that this is a much longer strip, and this is in the shape of V from my angle, and the top right corner is still buried by earth, and this is quite likely a wind or some ornaments on one edge of the wind. Maybe it's highly likely that it's a wind, and much of it is still covered by the earth, and we can zoom out. Maybe we can see a bird view, and it's highly likely that this is another wind. So the top right corner is almost reaching the bottom of the pit, so it's not likely a wind. So this one is much bigger. If it is not a wind, in pit number 1 and number 2, we have seen some face-shaped golden foil and some other designs and styles, but this one is a lot narrower, and it's reaching the bottom of the pit. So the top left is already reaching the edges. So this is a V-shaped golden foil, and this is pit number 4. It's a lot similar to pit number 1, and pit number 1 give us a lot of jade tablets and jade vessels, because pit number 1 and number 4, they are pretty close. So we have to know how long this top right corner is, and so this is not natural. So it's giving us a lot of surprises. So this is the surprise of the day today, and because at 10 o'clock this morning we haven't seen this. There doesn't seem to be any patterns on this strip. Well, this is like 20 centimeters long. On the right side, is that a pottery? Yes, it's the pottery piece. So what is about this round object that is popping out from the ground? So I can see it's in the shape of sphere, and we still don't know what that is. So how I wish that I was there on site. So this is a ruler, and you can see this is roughly 30 centimeters long. Actually, this is a very big discovery. So how can this be? And how long is the part that is still underground? Well, hold your breath and be a little patient. So the golden foil excavated from pit number 5 is already in the lab. Our workers have cleaned that. And now back to my colleague Zhao Jing. So we are right now at the emergent analysis lab, and just now the golden foil excavated was transferred here. You can see that our researchers are analyzing this golden foil and golden strip using hyperspectral scanner, and we are working together with more than 30 scientific institutions and universities working on board with us. You can see that this is a hyperspectral scanner provided by the Xi'an Optic Center of the Chinese Academy of Sciences, and they have brought this scanner here. And they just scan this golden file strip, and from the screen you can see the result of such scanning. Let me ask Dr. Tang, what information can you get from such scanning? So we used the hyperspectral scanner to scan the golden file strip so that we can know what is the hyperspectral information of the piece. By merging and analyzing the data, we are able to obtain a lot of information, and this scanner can be a very good helper to all the archaeologists to help understand the contents of the piece and also to help understand the abnormal contents associated with that piece. And in restoring and repairing this golden strip, we can also use this scanner. We can analyze the original data so that we can have a very comprehensive understanding about how to preserve and how to further protect this golden strip. We can also compare the hyperspectral data between different golden strips. By comparing the data, we will be able to understand the differences of the golden file strip, and this will help us understand the golden ware used in ancient times in this part of the country. So my understanding, this is like making an ID card for this golden file, and each and every strip of gold is very unique. So tell us what are the result of recent research in this perspective. Well, let me show you one of the results of the scanning. And you know that in P number 4, about the ivory, and there is this layer of ashes. And these ashes, they came from the burning of plants or textiles at the sacrificial ceremony. So it's very important that we understand the sacrifice ceremony. And so through scanning, we were able to obtain this hyperspectral image of these ashes. And we also analyzed the sampling data of cotton, hemp, wool, and silk contents contained in the earth. If we talk about organic textiles, and it can very easily absorb the hyperspectrums. So through our analysis, we came to the conclusion that a lot of organic elements were contained in the soil. For example, this is a squared piece. By scanning that, we found out that this is a remain of hemp. And if we look at this part of the sample, and it's more similar to wool or cotton. So in addition to identifying objects, we can also formulate some images, and we can look at some of the images of this hyperspectral scanning. So we'll be able to understand what kind of object it was. It might be a piece of clothing, and then it's very useful to understand what potential object it was from. So for hyperspectral scanning, we can better understand the agriculture and textile industry thousands of years ago. So thank you very much, Dr. Tang, for your introduction. We understand that at this round of archaeological research at Sanxingdui, we're using a lot of the scientific and technological tools. So all right, this is the latest from the lab. Back to you, Guangquan. Thank you very much, Zhao Jing, and we will bring you the latest about what is going on at P number 3, and maybe later you will know what is the object that is still buried underground. All right, welcome back to the studio in Beijing, and with the progress going on there on site, we are very curious about what are the artifacts being restored at the Preservation Center. So tell us what is going on at your lab. So this is the Restoration Center, which is only a few kilometers away from the Sanxingdui Relic Center. and we have received different batches of artifacts, and we have witnessed the whole process of restoring and repairing those artifacts. And we gave you a very detailed look about the golden facial mask. And today, let me introduce some of the elements associated to that. In pit number 5, we excavated a lot of shining pieces of golden ware. Through a number of days of efforts we spent on restoration, and we are now being able to unveil its true look. So Dr. Wang, tell me, we know this is from pit 5, and what is it specifically? So this is a golden ornament in the shape of a bird excavated from pit number 5, and you can see that this is the head, and we also have the bird wing and the bird body and the bird tail. So it's very obvious that we have the tail, the body, the wing, and also the head, and this is very similar to the tail of a phoenix. So how big is this? And it appears to be very big from my perspective. So it's 30 centimeters long, and you can see that we have some part missing. Already it's reaching the width of 18 centimeters. So you mentioned about its head. What is the features there? Well, some believe that this is a ornament with the head of a bird, and some believe this is a human head. And if you look at the this piece from using our microscope, and you can see that there is one missing part, and it's slightly different from manual cutting, and maybe it's a very special type of bird.
So maybe, like you said, maybe this is like a bird shaped, or a human head, bird body, the figure. But from my side, actually, I could really tell that the 2 eyes and mouth, or it's quite like a people's head, because we know pit 3 actually we found this kind of like a human head with a bird body excavation. So we talk about this is actually already folded, right? When you very first time see this, still remember that time? Yes, actually it's unearthed, and actually this is actually overlaid by a piece of gold and also covered by earth. Before we thought maybe just one piece. After that, you could see actually we folded it, and we found maybe it's a belt or strips. Actually, look at the shape after it's fully folded. It's really shocking to us. It's so beautiful, and look at it. This is a really fun art piece. It's like a golden phoenix. So we actually would like to compare to the findings from pit number 1 and 2, especially the gold ware from there. So compared to gold mask, let's say actually their technique actually more or less the same, but actually this piece is quite complicated, even more complicated, because they need to really show you that the hollow structures, look at this, should be really cutting edge technology or technique to make so. And also look at this compared to the gold mask, this one is even thinner. And also the technique, especially making these hollow structure right now, actually still passed on. So look at actually with 1,000 years of history right now, this technique still actually using nowadays. Talk about gold mask, we talk about the way of processing, especially the edge of gold mask. We talk about that maybe it's a cover on top of the wooden mask. So it's like the coating. But for this one, it's so thin. And look at the edge, look at the cutting style. Actually, it's not really as a topping or like decorating layer. So we talk about it's maybe for the more decoration function of the other ware. So it's waiting for further information. So thin, just 0.12 millimeters. And besides this piece, and also we look at look into another piece under the microscope. So the other piece also from the pit number 5, on the early excavation from pit number 1 and 2, actually based on the report, actually we found more or less the similar discoveries from the previous work. So we talk about this, we always name it as the fish-shaped gold ware. So look at it, this is quite like a fish eye. And also we look at the whole shape, it's like a fish, the head, and also the gill, that's also quite similar. And also we look at the whole decoration or the pattern, and we believe this is something actually well arranged. So you look at the dots, actually is in an orderly manner. So right now it's not fully folded, but we could really tell there's a fish scale, actually also the man-made fish scale on top of this gold or the fish-shaped gold folio. Actually, we look at the different pieces, and also we saw that the gold mask, actually during the whole work, anything you expect, of course, we're looking forward more pieces coming to us, but actually, especially this kind of a mask, also the missing part, we could find it, and we could fill in that gap. I believe we would like to bring that 100% original look to the public. And this is the restoration work, and it will be continue to bring the pieces back to bring its original look. I believe with the cutting-edge technology and the different platforms, instruments, tools, and also with all the masters pitching in, we hope that we could know better and more about our previous history. And this is from the laboratory. Thank you so much. We believe that the pieces after restoration are shining even brighter. And we look at the gold ware and also the gold accessories actually really caught everyone's attention. And in Chengdu, actually also found a lot of different kinds of the gold wares, actually shocking the whole world. And this also talk about the story of ancient kingdom of Shu. And I would like to go to Chengdu to our correspondent, and this is at the Sanxingdui Ruins Museum. And this is in the museum, and look at this one. I believe this one already went viral and even more popular nowadays. Actually, we also had a short video going on and talk about this gold mask actually crying in that short clip. Actually, before we always talk about this is a well-preserved, the largest one in the history, but with the development or the further excavation work of Sanxingdui, actually the curtain unveiled right now here in Sanxingdui, we could tell even more well-preserved one found there. So this one actually maybe not anymore the best preserved one, but the thing is like this one should not cry because like we help that this gold mask found its peers back then. And we talk about indeed gold ware or the gold folio actually were the shining cultural relics we got. And at this time we also invite the president Wang Fang of the museum. So first of all, please let us know the quantity of the golden folio we got. So far here is around 300 pieces. So judging from the quantity, actually quite a lot, but actually just the top of the iceberg. Actually, you could tell there are even a lot underneath. So this is our live streaming. This is our special coverage here with CGTN New Media, and also this morning we also went to the laboratories and also the museum, and this is the very special room in the museum. Actually, this is something not really available or accessible to the public, and we talk about this is another piece of the gold mask, and we could tell actually we have seen so many masks, so which means that masks should be play a key role in the ancient kingdom of Shu. So back to 1986, we got 65 gold ware. In Jinsha, this is the worship places, so we found additional 300 gold folio or gold pieces. So based on our preliminary research, we talk about it should be related to ritual activities. So we look at this is just a different process. This is really thin. So we talk about this should not just stand by itself. So either like it should be stick to other item. So maybe stick to the wooden be a product, or maybe these also adhere to the other like the jade and for the worship purpose. And you can see this is very thin, but we talk about the ancient kingdom of Shu. They had really nice a brown ware, but on top of these brown ware, the people also add additional layer of gold. And also look at this one. And we talk this a sun and imperial bird. So actually we did a lot of work in repairing process. So this is also made by gold. And we look at the diameter is 12.5 centimeters, and the thickness is around 0.2 or 0.02 centimeter. So we talk about actually judging from the thinness, this should be a cutting edge technique. And also we talk about it's not a simple way to make this. Actually, it's involved quite a difficult process to make this very thin piece. We talk about the diameter is 12.5 centimeters and the thickness around 0.2 millimeter. So just think about this. This is so thin, but actually the gold containment around 92%. So just within the 12.5 centimeter round actually is really shining to us. And we also look at actually 4 emperor or the gold bird actually flying at each side, and in the middle is like a 12 sunlight shining in the middle. This represent the respect of the people in the ancient kingdom of Shu to the sun. And actually we always can see this kind of a message from other excavated pieces, and this is something shared among different civilizations. So this one actually become one of the icon of Chengdu and also of the ancient Shu kingdom. So we look at our palm, a dot palm, actually just like the size of this one. So just on your palm, they have this sophisticated work. So we could tell this is really hard to make it, but people in ancient time, they could own it. Another piece I would like to highlight here. So maybe give it a close shot first. So this is a belt. We talk about this is a crown belt. And we don't know whether we could see that a pattern on top of it. We could find the pattern of fish, bird, and wand. I believe this is some element actually we usually found from Sanxingdui excavation work, right? Remember that we talk about a gold wand from Sanxingdui, repeat number 1, actually a human being's face, and a wand, the fish, a bird. They maybe belong to one family, but we would like to know that the combination of the pattern, what's the meaning behind? So we talk about this 4 pattern and a core element. We only saw this before in Sanxingdui and also in Jinsha. So we talk about 1 arrow, 1 human being's face, 1 bird, 1 fish. So maybe it represents certain totem. So that totem may be representing a higher class or a nobility, a strong power. So we believe that maybe belong to one tribe. So that's a pattern that may be related to certain noble totem. So we talk about the people should belong to one tribe. So when they do the worship or the ritual activities, they could use this kind of totem or the pattern. And for the people from other tribe, they were not allowed to use this kind of tribe. Of course, the excavation was still going on. We believe that more and more gold ware or the cultural relics will be found. And during these days, we talk about whether we could find more these kind of pattern, because this is not character, it's not letter, but actually all these patterns help us to know more about these activities, or the secret actually is the decoding work. So with more this kind of pattern found, that help us to know more about the history and the culture of the ancient Shu kingdom. So this is our live coverage from this Jinsha Ruin Museum, and back to the Beijing studio. Thank you very much. So we talk about when was the time it started to use this gold ware. Actually, there's no a clear record in this regard, but based on the record, actually people have that a development of the knowledge to know more about gold, and we could find that. We rely on the production of the tools, and from the very beginning, we just use the a stone, and later on, we burn soil to make the a pottery. Actually, use quite a long time to develop to the stage of the metal, and also later on we could see that the whole thing speed up, and we could find the two natural metal. One is the copper, another one is gold. If we can find the ideal fertilizer, actually you do not need to have a complicated process.
By heating and padding that, it will be usable. And in China's The Book of Mountains and Sea, there are red gold and yellow gold. And according to this book, it says that at the Tangting Mountain, there are wood and chimpanzees and jade and gold. And in Nuyang Mountain, we have red gold and white gold. And so as for what specific gold categories this book was talking about, we still don't know. And but this book is about mythology. But even in this book of mythology, there is abundant mentioning of gold, and this shows that the Chinese people started to understand gold from a long time ago. And in Sanxingdui and also in Jinsha, we have a lot of artifacts in gold. For example, golden white, golden facial mask, golden comb, and also golden ornaments. And bearing in mind that all of these golden ware are made of golden foil, and golden foil is a very thin plate made of gold, and the gold is very elastic, and 10 grams of gold can be extended to a golden foil that is 12.1 square centimeters. And starting from ancient times, there were abundant understanding about gold, and in Western Zhou dynasty, there were also some golden foil. And in Shanxi province, we excavated 2 pieces of golden tiger. We also excavated 26 pieces of cloud patterned golden foil, and 2 pieces of golden foil carved with beast. And in Xinxian, we excavated a tomb from Western Zhou dynasty, of the length of 2.8 centimeters long and 2.6 centimeters wide. On both sides of the golden foil, there are very delicate patterns describing the shape of animals. And in China's Qin dynasty, we have ancient Chinese phrases that contain the word of gold. So you can see that in the historical period before Qin dynasty, there were methodologies to manufacture gold. And if we add other elements to copper, we can come up with some other bronze ware. In our studio, we have with us Shi Jingsong, who is an archaeologist from the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. So In Sanxingdui and also in Jinshan, we excavated a lot of golden ware, but we know that in the same historical period, in the Central Plain area, golden ware was seldom excavated in China. So what is your take on this? In Sanxingdui and in Jinshan, we really had a lot of excavations about gold, and in China's northwest, ancient people started to use gold to make some ornaments, and maybe this is affected by the civilization on the grassland. And in the historical period before Qing Dynasty, we had a lot of excavations of gold. For example, in Gansu Huoshao Gold relic site, we excavated a golden piece from 3,000 years ago. Most of these are golden rings and other ornaments, which is quite different from the golden foil excavated from Sanxingdui and Jinsha. And in Sanxingdui and Jinsha, most of the golden ware and golden ornaments that we excavated, they represent power. Well, you said they represent power. That reminds me of the golden wine excavated from Sichuan. Does that represent the power of the king? Well, it is generally believed that the golden wine represents power because number one, it's made of gold, and number two, it's a wine. And we believe this is a symbol of imperial power. And there are many evidences. For example, in pin number 2, we also excavated some bronze figure, and that may be also associated to power. And in Jinsha, we excavated a golden crown and golden belt, which carried the same pattern with the one excavated in Sanxingdui. Maybe they represent power. And you talked about the pattern of fish and bird, and we saw that from the Restoration Center at Sanxingdui, and you saw that we have golden ornaments made of the shape of fish and bird. Why these two animals? They are reflected in the golden ware excavated in Sanxingdui and Jinsha. In the golden wine and the golden ornaments, fish and bird, maybe they represent different tribes, but the sun god bird has a lot to do with the worship of sun. And as you know that in Sanxingdui, there were a lot of similar discoveries. Maybe in the eyes of the ancient people, the birds, they fly with the sun, so they associate the two together. They build a lot of connections between these two, and they worship the bird and the sun. And some say Yu Fu is the first king of the ancient Shu kingdom, and maybe this is somewhat connected, and there is a lot of worship for bird and fish. Bird and fish, they mean different things and different ornaments. For example, if we talk about the sun god, of course, at the very center of the ring, we have a bird, and of course, the bird and the sun, they are associated. So I see that you are very strict when reaching a conclusion. Stay tuned.
这里是三星堆新发现特别节目，在这一次新发掘的6个坑当中啊，
This is
考
the
古人员
special
在3
coverage
号
on
坑发现了不
Sanxingdui
同铜器，
cultural
包括带有消
relic. In pit number 3, we excavated a lot of bronze ware, and this includes a bronze vessel, a bronze utensil, and many other bronze wares. And what are the new discoveries in pit number 3? Now let's get connected with our studio in Sanxingdui. All right, welcome back. I'm joined by the director of the Chinese Academy of Archaeology, Mr. Wang Wei, and Dr. Ma Yongchao. Now please follow our camera and let's move to page number 3. You can see our 2 staff. They are cleaning the earth in the pit. Yesterday we excavated a very large bronze utensil, and this is the largest of such bronzeware excavated because it's 70 centimeters tall. And what is beneath this bronze utensil? Now let's take a look. You can see that it's very bright, and this is a long strip of an utensil, and we don't know what that is. Maybe it was broken because of the pressure. Maybe it was pressurized, and that's how it's flat. So you can see this is, in Chinese, a lei or zun. But you can tell that this is flattened, and maybe some heavy pieces fell on it and it was broken. On the left of the screen, we can see a lot of shells, and maybe the shells were contained in that utensil. So this tells us that maybe this is a very large bronze utensil or a bronze container. Looking at this part only, and this is just like a pedal of a boat, but we understand that there is a big chunk of that still buried underground, and on the right side we can see an elephant tusk. They're using bamboo shovels and brush. So the darker colored part is the utensil. So it's very hard to distinguish, and we have to wait to the further clean up the earth because they are at different levels of corrosion. And maybe this is bronze, maybe this is gold, and if it is green color, it's highly likely that it's bronze. We've seen some crack, but you can still see those very delicate patterns on the surface. So our staff is using the bamboo shovel to clean up the dirt. The rest of the page is covered by wet tissues and wet towels, and now you can take a look at the left corner of this footage. So this is highly likely a bronze human figure. At the very beginning we saw the bronze head. Now it seems to be a human figure, and we saw the 2 hands putting together. We also saw the body, and at the very center of this footage you saw a elephant tusk that is lying on top of the body, and on the left side of the human figure we can see a bronze utensil, and you can imagine this is very tall, maybe 1.5 centimeters, 1.5 meters, but this is a very large piece. It was seldom seen in the past. We can also see a dragon head, which is highly likely attached to this utensil. So you can take a look at this angle. You can see very clearly the dragon head. And you can also see the horns of ox, which is symmetrical, and on each side we have a ox head. So they are at the 4 different corners of this bronze utensil. Originally we thought that those are the supporters, but right now you can see that those animal beasts and sculptures, they are on top of this utensil. And maybe this is just a utensil they used at the sacrificial ceremony, and you can see the pot at the neck part. We saw some crack, and then if we put it upside down, you can see how it looks like. The green colored one is the bronze ear. You can see the face is facing down the bottom. So you can see that this is a very large Chinese string. So this is maybe larger than a bronze string that we excavated yesterday. So this is the eye. You can see that his face is facing down, and this is just a section view of this head sculpture. And this is quite different. And this is the ear, and you can see it's very big, and it's equivalent to the size of a real human figure. On the right side, you can see we have very delicate carvings on the surface. And this is quite similar to the bronze ware excavated from Shang and Zhou dynasty. And this is very typical in terms of the style. And you can see that the overall style is quite unique in ancient Shu kingdom.
So look at the people actually holding that. So we talk about actually the whole worship offerings, why we found this kind of zun. And we look at this is the eyeball. And also we could see that we talk, the people from the ancient Shu kingdom actually did really that eager to have this kind of the bulging eyes, really the big eyes. I hope that with this large size of eyes had helped them to really see through the clouds and directly to the truth. So this is pit number 3. We talk about this is the whole zun, which looking forward, the whole piece unveiled in front of us, especially after repairing. So look at the hands. So this is both hands. Together, I believe this is crossing the hand. Maybe it's a hole because it is a round shape, and maybe holding the ivory, maybe. Because before we also found another large size, the figure that also more or less the same hand gesture. So the bronze ware actually also showed a very important level of the process, and because it's need a different like heating, excavating. Actually, this is a very complicated process. So we couldn't really tell that this is required a large investment of resources, humans, and of course it represents the power and the nobility. And we'll talk about a lot of process actually involved more people, and this is also involved a quite big organization system. So we talk about the nobility or power actually the must to make this. And as it also showed the high level of civilization, we talk about either it's the standing position or the knees on the ground position. This is something we're waiting to see. And also we talk about before we found a similar excavation piece. Before this maybe the standing position, like this is the one we got before, and also it's not really have the one like the similar size. So look at on the left hand side is the standing the position. We the head is missing, and the people in the middle is the knees on the ground. So look at the holding zun on top of the head. So this is more like the mountain or the worship platform, and then the other one maybe is quite similar to this one. So we look at the hand gesture is quite similar, and this is like a crossing the hand, and we talk about this is maybe holding something thin, maybe ivory, so it's not the jar or the large vessel. So right now we guess it could be a ivory because it's holding the hands crossing together. So this is the one we're waiting to see, and in the middle actually the one holding, and the other one we thought that should be a dynamic one, and maybe the fire could be burning inside. So this is actually for a high level priest. And this is from pit number 2. And this animal on the earth, the relics. So we talk about they actually put the dragon on under, and they also show that maybe could flying higher. And also we could see the 4 people in the middle, and on top of their head actually that's the zun. And also see the birds shaped decoration on top, and this one is really a smaller one, and we talk about this is around the 53 centimeters tall, but the one we are looking forward actually this around 1.15 meters tall. So we are so excited to see the finished work of this zun. I believe this is one of the very important symbol in the ancient Shu kingdom. So at this ritual work, actually, we saw a lot of different kinds of the activities. And before we saw that really large size, a bronze, a standing figure, so that may be a representing the king or a min priest. So when we need this kind of large size figure, or we had a scenario of a worship to do the ritual activities. Actually, in different places, different civilization, different culture, they have their own features. Here we talk about the status of a min priest should be really high. That because the priest represent the god. Because we always talk about the priest actually they could talk to God. And this one, actually, the simulation, this one you look at, this is actually quite well known in Sanxingdui. It's around 1.72 centimeters for the human gesture. In total, is around 2.06 meters high. And this actually look at is 3 stairs, and on top of these stairs, actually this is a priest on top. Basically, this actually help us to know a little bit more about a ritual work. So this is bring that a holy feeling. So we don't know it's actually the whole activity will held in this kind of the open space outdoor or in a certain temple. So maybe they had a temple built, but actually our simulation right now, because we right now studios in this place, so we also have this simulation here next to us in this open space. So we talk about the silk product. Actually, we look at this one. Actually, it has 3 layers of silk. So maybe with really a premium clothes decorated with silk, but that's also demonstrated a well-developed a way of making silk. So we talk about the brown ware actually represent a quite advanced development and the technology in this regard. And we know actually the process of making brown ware also talk about a prosperity of the whole ancient Shu kingdom, because it involved a quite large investment in terms of resources and headcount. We hope that with more work going on, that help us to know more about the secret of Sanxingdui. Back to the Beijing studio. Thank you very much. Welcome back to Beijing. Just now, we saw that in pit 3, there were a gold mask actually face down inside the pit number 3 at the same time in the middle area of the Yangtze River, and also the Brown, the kingdom. In Jiangxi, actually, we found a kingdom that's 3,000 years ago, and we found a large number of brown ware there. So let's go into this sacred brown ware. And look at this one, actually is the highest class of the national cultural relics, and this is the very first piece we found. This is a both sides mask. So we talk about this, actually the most featured, the human figure mask. Actually, this actually won a lot of respect. Actually, we also found a different a mask, so that also help us to know more about each other, and also found these two horns to add additional a self-developed culture. So compared to the into Home and the Sanxingdui, actually in total, this is called the a cluster of the brown ware. So talk about the central plain culture. That's something similar, but also represent the different culture. But we talk about actually the central plain culture already passed on to the southern part of the whole territory, and we see the different kinds of the bronze ware that involve the instruments, musical instruments, and also the tools for agriculture. We look at these different animals. The brown ware actually always shows that 3,000 years ago in Poyang Lake area, so these people owned quite the cutting-edge technology in making brown ware. So there's something similar to the central plain culture, but also it has own feature. So we look at, of course, different places that develop its own featured the culture and the technique in making the brown ware, but the similarity among different brown ware from different places also show that they actually reinforce and also learning from each other. So in Shanxi, we had a specific brown ware museum that actually showed the brown ware found at the similar age of Sanxingdui. So let's know more about the history back then. So this is the Shanxi, and this is the brown ware, the museum, and this is from Shang Dynasty. So here we found one piece of the cultural relics with quite eye-catching shape. So it's like the small shape or the dragon boat. So that's why we call it the dragon-shaped boat. It's also the national highest level the cultural relic. To help you to understand more the fine details, and we actually have this duplicate work. So look at actually can be divided into two pieces. So look at this is a hollow inner. So basically you have a lid on top, and basically you put one inside, and also actually you can really get the one from the mouth of the small open at the front, and also the lid actually also help you look at a curve, and there's also a little bit holy shape here. So when you make the one actually make the air flowing inside. So we look at this, the pattern design actually has been parallel. So I believe that the design philosophy quite similar compared to the brown wares in the ancient culture, and it's also in the different pieces. Actually, you look at the patterns and the alligator. And also the other one is the head up, the dragon shape, and also from the head to the tail is always can find that the dragon pattern. So we look at there are the four different the nodes, or this kind of the holy shape. So basically you could see the holy in the middle actually can put the rope inside and help her to carry. So Mr. Han, and this is for the food container. So this is called a bu in Chinese, actually also the wine container. You look at the pattern actually with the A3 animal hats. And also divided into 3 parts. So you look at this is quite elegant, and also talk about the patterns from the look. Actually look at this also like the 3D features on the top for the pattern. So this is actually the pure feature from the Yinxu culture. This is called Wunao. So there are a lot of rings decorated in the both sides, and for these actually the musical instrument. And this one, this is also a knife or the army usage. So this is we talk about the nomadic cultures. I found that this is also the boarding areas. So found that this is the cultures getting together merged here. So some actually from the nomadism cultures, and some from the central plain culture. So look at all these Chinese characters. You familiar with all these, or can you really speak them in Chinese? We talk about actually this represent cultural relics, and sometimes we may encounter to these kind of the Chinese characters, and these characters actually related to the Chinese culture, and also we talk about this Chinese the cultural relics. So you need to look into the dictionary to know exactly how they pronounce in Chinese. So let's figure out how people really use these tools.
穿越几千年赴宴，主人首先抬上来的是它，大肚子，3
Thousands
条
of
腿，
years ago,
肚子底下还
and
生着。
this one is very chubby, and it has 3 supporters. Is it holding meat porridge? Yes, you're right. This is a pot, and this is a pot from thousands of years ago, and this is what the Chinese people call ding. At the very beginning, it was made by pottery. Then it has 2 handles. In Xia Dynasty, we have a bronze ding, but still we're using 3 supporters at the bottom. And then we have this 4 supporter, 4 feet ding, and gradually it has evolved from a life-related utensil to sacrificial order, and it now represents power. And it is believed that altogether 9 dings were manufactured in China. For example, in China, when setting a capital, we see setting a ding. So ding also represents power, and in the history textbook, we all have learned the Homu Wu pottery ding, and we also have li. Differently, the 3 feet are hollow in the center, and it's more efficient in cooking. And in southern part of China, we also have a zeng. Zeng has a hollow bottom, so it's for the steams to pass through. So this is like a steaming pot. So when you put zeng and li, so for the li, it can be put at the bottom, and you can put firewood beneath, and then you can form a complete piece of pot. And we also have yan, and these are 3 pots excavated from the Fuhao tomb in Henan province. For a banquet to be successful, you have to have wine, and the ancient Chinese used Jun as a container of wine. And if you look at the Chinese character of Jun, it's 2 hands holding a pot of wine. So in Li Bai's poems, it was written that when you are happy, you have to drink wine, otherwise you are wasting the Jun. The Jun is a very important utensil in ancient China, so that is why in China we have a lot of phrases and terms using the character Jun. And now let's take a look at Jue. Jue is like a scanner that we use today in bars, and you can warm that, and it looks like a wine glass, but it has a head, it also has a tail and a handle. For wine containers, we have Zun and Jue, and also Lei, and also Gong. Just like this, in China we have a phrase that goes as Gong and Chou, which means that people are having a good time at the dinner, and those are the pottery Gong and Chou excavated from Analytical. Now let's just put up the glasses and bottom up. Now we have with us Shi Jingsong from the Chinese Academy of Archaeology. So Professor Shi is an expert in pottery, especially for the period of Shang and Zhou dynasty, and we've seen a short video clip about the different pottery and bronze utensils, and you have noticed that amongst the artifacts excavated in Sanxingdui, we have seen a lot of zun, but we haven't seen a ding. What is your take on this? In Sanxingdui, we don't have ding, and in the Shang dynasty, we have Guo and Jia, but those were not excavated in Sanxingdui. In the Central Plain area, we have a wide variety of different pottery and bronze utensils, but in Sanxingdui, it was very limited in terms of type. And this is also similar in other parts of China. For example, in Jiangxi Xingan, we found a big tomb, and we have excavated a lot of bronze wares, but we don't have Gu and Jia. And in the Yangtze River, we have Zun and Lei. Both are wine containers and utensils. So those are regional bronze cultures. You can see that, well, making exchanges with the Shang dynasty culture, there are some limitations, and some of the times they have selected some of the utensils from the Central Plain area, but they are attaching new functions to that. So what kind of new functions have they given to the bronzeware? Well, to just give you an example, Zun, for example, in the Central Plain area, it was for wine-containing purposes, but in Sanxingdui, it was for sacrificial ceremonies. Yes, you're right. In Central Plain area, it was for ritual purposes. And you mentioned about this big round part. What is the difference between the Zun discovered in Sanxingdui and also in Central Plain area in terms of pattern and design? The Sanxingdui big pot, it's a round bronze part, and it carries a lot of patterns, and this is similar to the Zun used in the Central Plain area. For example, in Yin Ruins, we have characters at the bottom, and if you look at the middle part, it's very thin, and normally it's very short. And if you look at the patterns, it's mainly reflecting some animals. But if you look at the patterns on Sanxingdui, they don't carry any characters. And a lot of that are very tall, and the arms, they are holding together. And if you look at the patterns, there are some unique features in its mouth and also in its face, which are quite different from the patterns in the Central Plain area. Up until present, on the bronzeware excavated from Sanxingdui, there are no words or characters. And do you think it's likely that for the other bronzewares excavated later, there will be no words or characters? Well, so far we haven't encountered any inscriptions or words on the surface of the bronzeware, and this is not just unique in Sanxingdui and in addition to the central areas of Shang dynasty, all the bronzeware excavated in other localities have no such characters, and this shows that characters were used only at the limited area in Shang dynasty. So after seeing this very big bronze utensil, some say that it's very similar and identical to the Zun excavated in Yin Ruins in Henan province. And you mentioned that there were a lot of cultural exchanges. But right now, can you tell us where does this bronze making technology come from? Is it from the Central Plain area in China? So number one, in Sanxingdui, we haven't encountered a lot of similar joints from to the Yin ruins. So we have to dramatically increase our knowledge with the passage of time, and I believe there is a very limited channel of technological transfer, and we can only look at the geological roots, and one of the possibilities is China's northwest, because in China's northwest we have excavated some bronze plates, and we believe they are from the Hexi corridor, and that was the place where they had the refinery industry from a very long time ago, and maybe there is the roots from China's northwest, and the other roots might be the Central Plain area. So in Sanxingdui, and judging by its bronzeware, what is your evaluation on the overall level of civilization in Sanxingdui? Do you think there was the kingdom, a country, at the present, because they could come up with such delicate bronzeware? Well, I believe there was a country at the time, because to produce so many bronzeware, you need refinery, you need mining industry, you also need to manufacture that and also carry out researches. You also need to have a special administrative organ to oversee this manufacturing process. So that means that it has to have a country to manufacture so many bronzeware. All right, stay tuned. Some believe that archaeologists, they must be historians, and they have to have very good knowledge in history, and they also need to be a detective. They should know where the artifact was buried and also identify the historical period of that. And they also need to be anthropologists, and because they have to have a lot of understanding about human, and also they have to be a vegetarian or veteran or a doctor. They need to have a biological knowledge about humans and animals. In addition to elephant tusks in 1986 in page number 1 and number 2, we excavated a lot of animal-shaped pottery and bronzeware. Now let's take a look at a lot of the bird-shaped utensils. In 1986, one big bird head bronzeware was excavated, and this is 40 meters tall, and you can see that the eyes are popping out, and the mouth is curved according to experts. This is one of the eagles that feed on fish, and in Sanxingdui there were a lot of rivers, and those fish gall was very prevalent in that place, and they played a very important role in agriculture. And the Sanxingdui people came up with abstract artistic utensils in the shape of birds, and they also have many other bird shapes. Some are flying, some have very beautiful crowns, and some have very beautiful beaks. So seeing these birds-shaped utensils, it seems as if that we could hear the tweets of birds, and that offers a clue for us to understand the bird species 3,000 years ago in Sanxingdui. Now let's take a look at a bronze roaster in Sanxingdui. You can take a look at how layered the feathers are, and you can see how delicate and vivid the mouth, the eyes, and the crown is. So this shows us how artistic the Sanxingdui people were. In addition to birds, we also excavated a lot of utensils in the shape of pig, eagle, and dog, and also frog. Although they are not very big, but they are very delicate. People in Sanxingdui, they were using earth to make pottery, and they showed us a very vivid world from a long time ago. And in 2000, 8 kilometer away from Sanxingdui, they found another relic site in Lianhua, and one of the pottery peak piece attract the attention of archaeologists, and you can take a look at the pig nose and pig face, and this is very similar to the cartoon character because the similarity between the cartoon figure and this one also went viral online. It took thousands of years before the world is like what it's like today, and thanks to the archaeological findings, we are able to understand better about the history. And also we have experts on animal who research into the bones of animals, and in their eyes each bone can tell a story. And this year we identified a lot of elephant tusks, and what secrets can the archaeologists tell us from those ivory? At the archaeological sites, there are animal experts collecting different types of bones. By analyzing the bones, they will be able to tell the age, size, and species of the bone. And in 1986, in pit 1 and pit 2, we excavated 80 elephant tusks. In 2000, in Chengdu, we put together more than 100 elephant tusks, and the longest one exceeded 1.85 meters. And according to analysis, the expert told us that the elephant lived in Asia from thousands of years ago. And according to experts, in today's time, the Asian elephants have shorter trunks. Do we have elephants 3,000 years ago in Sanxingdui? The experts are telling us that it's highly likely, and in the Yangtze River basin, there are also elephant tusks. In 1976, some farmers identified a very big chunk of fossil, and the experts told us that they are the bones from an elephant.
And the ivory is around 2 meters long, and we talk about this is quite frequently seen. So we also the sharp teeth element, and we also found that 100 pieces of the bone from the feet, and it's all well preserved. And we also talk about a bone from the tongue also found, and also this is later on named as the Yellow River elephant. So the archaeologists actually found from the different remains or bones actually tell us the whole story of the animals living back then. And this piece actually is also the ivory related a item, and actually on top of that we could find a sunlight and also the birds. And we talk about this respect, the people actually show their respect to the sun and the birds. And also we found that these actually always can find the wand, and this wand actually made into this shape, and it's also used the ivory to make this wand, and as it also showed the hierarchy back then. And this one, you look at the green colors on top and also the whole shape, and this always represents this to be loved by the imperial family. So let's get back to the studio in Sanxingdui. And I believe there's questions from the internet. We'd like the experts to give an answer to them. Yes, indeed, we have collected questions regarding the excavation work going on here in Sanxingdui, and also related to culture and history here in Sanxingdui. So we found some questions online. Let's see what we have today. And also with us Mr. Wang Wei to give us the answer. So we had 4 questions, and Mr. Wang Wei is the chairman of the Archaeological Society of China. So we talk about actually we found different kinds or different shape, different size of the birds, which also means that quite abundant birds resources 3,000 years ago. The answer is absolute yes, because we see a quite advanced development in agriculture sector. Actually, we talk about the whole temperature actually is the 2 to 3 degrees Celsius higher than the current temperature. So we could see, yes, we could see more the count of birds, and of course we see maybe more birds flying there. And of course that's also related to the relic. So that's related to the belief. We look at the southwest, the coastal areas. We talk about birds because they fly. So in the ancient time, people thought about eternal, that the spirit actually is to the other, to the heaven or to another world. So birds are actually a vehicle or the way to transport the spirit of the deceased to the heaven. So we talk about the Sanxingdui here. We talk about the brown ware. We related to the central plain culture. Something is common. And also at the top of that is the Sanxingdui's own specific feature, especially decorated with all these birds. So we look at Baiguan, Yufu, and Duyu. Actually, in their name, they're all related to birds. Actually, these are the names of the three kings in the ancient kingdom of Shu. So we still talk about this related to the ancient culture and the history. So we talk about that related to time, respect to the sun, respect to the bird, because we talk about the holy birds. Actually, it's not just simple normal birds, it's holy birds. So another question, we talk about the pit. Why is so well organized? So we talk about right now we have 8 pits. They're quite close to each other. So we talk about it, actually we dig in this size, right? Actually we excavated in this size, but also talk about actually we not really did in hurry. Actually we had a well plan before, and also we know exactly the distance between two sides, two pits. Actually everything based on our plan. So indeed, actually the pits actually made by us is not the original pits back then. So for our archaeological work, of course, we would like to show the original look. So of course, we will not really damage the original look. We follow the original pattern. And also on top of that, we have our plan. So let's look into another question, whether it's possible to repair silk product. So let's say we found the head, but the body missing, whether we can repair or made the whole body, or the clothes we'll talk about whether we can repair that silk. So we talk about the silk, of course, that may be something that missing or damaged. So with the microscope and also the other detector, so we could know what kind of silk it was, and also we could tell that the structure. We talk about the cotton, wool, and also we talk about the woven silk, and also the silk family. So first we need to identify what kind of silk it was. Right now, actually, we had that technology. We had a specific team working on these areas. So actually, the team from the messy silk collection to do the repairing work. We had a dedicated team in this area. So we talk about the unearthed silk. I believe the team actually capable to do so. So actually we talk about archaeological work actually from day one to the destination actually involved so complicated process and involved multiple team involved. So let's also looking forward that tomorrow we could find more silk, and also hope that we can bring the original look and touch. And also tomorrow in our live streaming we'll focus more on the utensils. And in the pit number 8, we talk about before that have big reaction to the metal detectors. So we're looking forward any metal wares that could be found. And also we will do some research at the outer space or the space surrounding near the pits. So let's looking forward for the more excavation work tomorrow. Thank you very much, our studio in Sanxingdui. So back to our Beijing studio. So far, actually, for us, we just know it's just a word, it's another piece. But from the archaeological perspective, each and every tiny piece could tell a different story, or they embodied with a story. So as you said before, with the analysis on all these cultural relics and also the ruins, actually that help us to identify that back then the later age of Shang Dynasty actually already show a whole system of a country or nation. We talk about at the same time actually along the Yangtze River did also exist that the other brown ware culture. We also found that the tribe and also the other ruins, but based on the layout of the ruins or the excavation, we could really talk about the hierarchy of the whole society. We look at the brown ware actually all more or less from one pit. And we also look at the Xiangjiang riches. Actually, we also found a quite large number of brown ware. Actually, that brown ware is so complicated, and the shape, the look, actually quite different. We could not really tell that a unified society already existed. And also, the archaeological work actually also not quite found abundant cultural relics. So far, based on our knowledge, in Chengdu Plain, we found the earliest shape of nation. So based on our new discovery this time from Sanxingdui, what's the importance this time? So first of all, it's for sure help us to know more about Sanxingdui culture and the civilization, help us to find the answers to many the original questions. Of course, that also help us to ask more questions. So that also widen our horizon and understanding of the Sanxingdui culture, and also actually this provided a larger space for us to look into the Sanxingdui culture from different angles. And I believe that also help us to build up that link to different culture or civilization in other places in the same time or same age. And also we talk about we can enrich the data space, and also for the whole area or the Yangtze River civilization actually also can know more about its own culture and the history based on the Sanxingdui founding. We talk about the culture or the brown ware, actually the index for us to know the history and culture. We talk about every piece of the soil, sand, and also the ivory, actually the landmark to guide us away. Actually, these actually like the jigsaw puzzle. Actually, we build up and fill in each piece to help us understand the beauty of the Chinese civilization. So the new technology plus the cultural relics help us to understand the whole history, how the Chinese civilization developed. And also because of these kind of the work and also the belief, the archaeological work actually show its vivid dynamics, and also that show the beauty and the resilience of the Chinese civilization. Yinxu culture to the Sanxingdui culture. So the excavation work right now is everything follow the schedule, with each and every piece is unfolded and unveiled its curtain. It shows its own bride in front of us. And this is come to the end of our live coverage. I see you again tomorrow. Bye for now.